Welcome to the Charon Files. The stories you are about to hear are testimonies from living witnesses of what moves beyond understanding, of what refuses to be explained. Each of them stood at the edge of what is known and looked into what lies beyond it. I am Charon, the ferryman of the dead, the one who waits at that edge. What follows is what they brought back. May they prepare you for your own future encounters. There are moments when the familiar landscape of our existence shifts beneath us. A subtle displacement, a sudden intrusion, and the world we thought we knew reveals an unsettling alien face. These are not always grand, cataclysmic events, but rather the quiet corruptions of the known. A loved one's gaze that holds a stranger's intent, a quiet place that suddenly rejects our presence, or the very fabric of perception reweaving itself without warning. Such encounters leave us questioning not only what we witnessed, but the very nature of what is real. These are the testimonies of such disquieting shifts. Mark, from New Orleans, Louisiana, recounts a search and rescue operation in a remote area where inexplicable technical failures and unsettling discoveries suggested a deeper mystery at play.
I volunteered with a search and rescue group, and we were frequently dispatched to remote areas looking for missing people, recoveries, and occasionally crime scene searches. We were called out one day after a logging company had unearthed a backpack belonging to a man who had been missing for over 20 years. The initial search for the man had been massive. Hundreds of people, dogs, a massive community effort. Nothing was ever found. Not a single clue. It took us over an hour to crawl our team on unmaintained logging roads. The area had wild horses, which I had never even heard of in our area. It was remote. From the jump, we had some weird technical issues. My teammate's brand new Dodge truck stalled out on the logging road. I carry a litany of tools, jumper cables, tow rope, etc. And the Dodge was dead. I don't remember if we towed it to the side or what we did, but there was no fixing the issue. The truck wouldn't turn on, no lights, no electrical, but the battery was fine. My rig's fog lights suddenly went out as well. They never came back on. I chalked it up to the extremely rough terrain knocking them loose. A handful of us who were first on the scene descended through the Devil's Club hillside and immediately found one shoe, then another, a few pieces of clothing as we got further down to the creek at the bottom. We found a mandible and then the top part of the skull within the first 10 to 15 minutes. The clothing matched the description of the missing man on the bolo flyers we had been given. One of my teammates sat down for a break and picked up a rib that was next to him. We had been up and down the hill he sat on, and hadn't even noticed the human ribs that were scattered up the hillside. That was odd. We were all trained to grid search and had done so. Had we merely overlooked 5+ ribs that were laying plainly on the ground? Maybe. It was full of Devil's Club and brutal landscape. The clothing and bones were out in the open. Our old maps from the original search showed this area was searched. It happens maybe the guy was on the move, and these weren't here during the initial search. I drove out of the scene to grab a sheriff who was going to guard the scene overnight. We had flagged every fork we took with fluorescent flagging tape as the logging roads were not marked. We're missing the number sign that usually sat at every fork and not well maintained. We were at least an hour off any paved road. I had noted the direction we took at every fork on the way in. Right, left, etc. I was thankful I had. Our flagging markers were gone. I usually stayed out at sites overnight, as I didn't have children at the time. I chose not to stay at this site. It just felt off. On another search for a lost hunter, we stumbled across hanging figures in the trees, made of twigs, moss, and lashed together with tall grass or vines, straight up Blair Witch style. This would have been a few years after Blair Witch Project came out. The team was used to seeing weird stuff in the woods, but these were unsettling. We camped overnight at that spot as we hadn't found the person. We slept in a circle with a small campfire in the middle. It was fall headed into winter and cold. We just had sleep sacks and bivy sacks, no tents or tarps. When we woke up, there was a small bundle of twigs lashed together with vines by our fire. We initially blamed our team clown, who was always pulling pranks. The look on his face told us it wasn't him. No clue what or who it was. Many of the old-timers swore that they had seen, heard, or smelled Bigfoot. These were tough men. Many had military or law enforcement experience. And they weren't the kind of guys to get scared.
David, in Marfa, Texas, shares his disquieting encounters with his wife, whose sudden, unsettling behavior defied her usual kind and intelligent nature.
Lynn, my wife of 6 years, has always been kind, intelligent, and no nonsense. She dislikes horror, isn't into pranks, and has no history of mental health issues. Her recent behavior is completely out of character. 2 months ago, making coffee, I saw Lynn peeking at me from around a corner. Only her eyes and a strand of dark hair were visible. I nearly spilled my coffee, burning my lips. "Geez, Lynn," I said, "you scared the shit out of me." She popped out of view, scurried off, laughing. It was weird, but I forgot about it by lunch. 3 days later, around 2 a.m., I was getting a drink. I felt watched. I looked down and saw Lynn's smiling face peeking from the other side of the kitchen island, staring up with wide, unblinking eyes, grinning like the Cheshire Cat. I screamed, not from irritation, but fear. At my scream, she scuttled backwards out of view, hands and feet smacking the tile as she hurried out on all fours. I stood frozen. In our bedroom, she was asleep, or pretending to be. I watched her breathing, wondering if I'd dreamt it. The next morning, I asked her about it. She frowned, shaking her head. "You were peeking at me again." "From over there," I said, pointing. She looked, then burst out laughing. I joined her. "You creep me the fuck out sometimes," I said. She teased back. "You creep me out all the time." As I drove to work, I couldn't shake how creepy it had been, the sounds of her crawling away. I told myself she was just being silly, but it didn't sit right. I started seeing her peeking more often. From behind the couch, curtains. Once, she was inside her grandmother's old trunk at the foot of our bed, lid propped just enough for half her face to peek through, grinning like an excited toddler. It was unnerving. When I asked why, she slowly closed the lid, shutting herself inside. I walked away, disturbed. She didn't peek for 2 weeks. I thought she was done. One night, watching Netflix, I jokingly said she'd given up her spy game. She looked at me with a small smile and said, "Maybe I have just gotten better at it." I wondered if she was joking. For days, I felt paranoid, constantly checking for her. I was jumpy whenever she wasn't in full view. After a few more weeks without incident, I began to relax. Then a few days ago, things got much worse. Lynn left to go to a friend's. Around 9 p.m. in the shower, I felt watched. I slowly opened my eyes. Lynn was peeking from behind the shower curtain, her entire head stretched into the shower, body outside. Her dark hair hung, dripping. Her mouth hung open in a terrible grin, eyes wide and red, makeup running down her cheeks in black streaks. She looked giddy and deranged. I was terrified. We stood like that. Finally, she slowly pulled her head back, and I watched her blurry figure move backwards. The bathroom door slammed shut. I screamed, jumped out, and locked the door. I stayed there over an hour, pacing, listening. I heard a muffled sound, pressed my ear to the door. Nothing. Anger surged. "What the fuck, Lynn?" I snapped. "This shit is getting really fucking annoying." I waited for an apology. Instead, a faint moan, then silence. "Lynn?" I called, my voice shaky. No response. "I swear to God, just fucking stop it," I yelled, pounding the door. Nothing. Too scared to open the door, I waited another 30 minutes. Finally, I peered under the door. No Lynn. I stood, unlocked the door with shaky fingers, and was about to yank it open when I heard a louder moan. It came from the closet. I turned my head in slow motion and locked eyes with my wife, peeking from the slight gap. Her eyes were wide, her mouth a grotesque, gaping smile. I didn't even scream. Her hands were clasped to her chest, body trembling with delight. A short, raspy moan bubbled from her throat. I pulled the bathroom door open and ran, grabbing my keys and phone, bolting to my car. I heard her shrill laughter behind me, but she wasn't getting closer. I didn't shut the front door. I drove to my brother Chris's house, 40 minutes away, shivering, still in my boxers. Lynn had called 4 times, sent a flurry of texts, all wondering where I'd gone, why I left, like that. I threw my phone in rage at her nonchalant attitude. Chris and Rebecca were surprised. I told them we had a fight, not wanting them to think I was overreacting. I tried to sleep, but every time I closed my eyes, I saw Lynn's face in the closet. The thought of going home gave me anxiety. Chris gave me a sleeping pill. My sleep was filled with dreams of her smiling face. I woke up drained, knowing I'd have to call her, but I wouldn't go home unless she promised to stop the creepy shit. I just wanted my normal wife back. Contemplating calling her, that familiar feeling came over me. I was being watched. My eyes drifted to the window beside the couch. Her face was pressed against it, staring down with that same gaping smile. Drool dribbled down the glass. I didn't know how long she'd been there. Anger trumped fear. I jumped up, pounded the glass. "Lynn, are you crazy? What the hell is wrong with you? Just go home, now!" She didn't move. Her smile only grew. I heard Chris and Rebecca upstairs. Her head twitched towards them, and she slowly began to close her mouth. Chris called my name. When I turned back, Lynn was gone. Only the drool streaks remained. Chris and Rebecca were skeptical. We checked outside. No footprints, just a slight indent. They assumed I'd dreamt it. I called out of work, turned off my phone. I believed something was irreversibly wrong with her. I cried most of the morning. By noon, I decided to confront her, give her one last chance. I turned my phone on. Dozens of texts. "Can we talk? I love you. I am really worried." Not one addressed her bizarre behavior. She normally texted novels. This was different. I stayed another night. Rebecca asked if the fight could be mended. "She is like a different person," I said, not ready to reveal the full extent. Rebecca, ever the peacemaker, said, "People change, Ben. She is still the same woman you married." I told her I didn't trust Lynn. "Lynn loves you. She has to be absolutely crushed," Rebecca said. "Well, she certainly seemed like it to me. I have never seen her so upset, very much unlike the Lynn I know." Dread wormed through me. "Wait, you saw her? You saw Lynn?" Rebecca nodded. "She stopped by this morning just after Chris left for work. She hadn't seen her car." "Did she come inside?" I asked, sweat breaking out. "No. She just asked if you were awake yet, and I said that you were not. I asked if she wanted me to wake you, but she said no. Just said to let you sleep." Rebecca said she looked awful. I felt I owed it to Lynn to help her. I'd sworn an oath. But what could I do? Call the police? What would I tell them? She hadn't committed a crime. She could fool doctors, just like she fooled Rebecca. I felt lost. So I called her mother, Marianne. We weren't close. She was cold, disapproving. I hated talking to her, but I needed help. "Yes?" she answered, irritated. "Marianne, it's Ben. Do you have a minute?" She clucked her tongue. "I'm writing checks." "What do you want to discuss, Benjamin?" "It's about..." "What is it that you want from me?" "I wanted to know if you had ever noticed any odd behavior, or possibly any mental health issues." A long, uncomfortable pause. "I'm not sure if this is one of your jokes, Benjamin, but if so, I do not find the humor in it. Now I do have business to attend to." I cut her off. "Marianne, it's not a joke. I'm sincerely concerned about Lynn's mental health. Her behavior has been very erratic. If you are truly concerned, then I suggest you get the health professionals involved. I do not know what you expect of me," she snapped. I felt she knew more. "Please, if not for me, do it for Lynn." I heard a faint, shaky intake of breath. "Benjamin, I do not know what to tell you. My only advice would be to seek professional help. Do not call here again. Goodbye." She hung up. Her refusal to help, her urgency in seek professional help, it stuck with me. Maybe she meant someone other than medical professionals. I convinced Chris and Rebecca that Lynn needed psychiatric help, telling them about the closet incident. They were shocked but believed me. though they still thought it was a weird joke, not dangerous. Chris offered to go with me to talk to her calmly. I agreed. This morning we drove to the house. My stomach churned. Her car wasn't there. The front door was ajar. I was shaking. Chris, oblivious, waited. I pushed the door open. The stench of rot hit us. Chris mumbled about the smell. The house was quiet, dark, curtains closed. We moved through rooms calling her name. "Why are you looking under the couch?" Chris asked. "Let's just go upstairs," I whispered. My shoes crunched glass on the steps. Our wedding portrait was smashed, glass removed. I stared at Lynn's beautiful face, now a source of terror. We checked the spare bedroom. The bathroom looked untouched. "I don't think she's here, Ben. Why don't you pack some clothes?" Chris said. I nodded, went to our bedroom. In the closet, I found the source of the smell and gagged. Chris lost all color. Soaking into the rug were at least a dozen eyeballs, carefully laid out in pairs, from small animals. "Man, I thought I had it bad with Becca's shoe addiction. But fuck me. Your wife is in here collecting eyeballs," Chris gagged. "Ben, I think we should go." I grabbed my duffel, shut the closet door. The rot taste was on my tongue. "I tried to tell you she needed help," I said. "She doesn't need help, Ben. She needs a fucking exorcist," Chris said. His words died. His eyes widened. I felt it. Someone was watching. I turned. Under the bed, curled on her side, watching us with the excitement of a kid on Christmas morning, was my wife. Her hands were clasped under her chin, shaking eagerly. I heard quiet hiccuping sounds. Wide eyes, huge smile. Everything told me to run, but this was my wife. "Lynn," I said softly. She bobbed her head. "Baby, I just want to help, okay? Can you let me do that?" I took a step, approaching her like a dangerous animal. "I love you, Lynn," I said. Another step closer. A tiny moan escaped her mouth. Her shoulders quivered, eyes grew large. I crouched. Her hands were covered in blood, trembling. "Lynn, are you hurt? You were bleeding," I said. She bobbed her head, bloody fingers moving like an invisible piano. Blood oozed between them. Her lips were dry, stretched thin, blood seeping. I reached out. Before I could touch her, her hands sprang out. A sharp pain shot through my arm. I fell back. My arm burned. Blood dripped. I looked back. She was grinning madly, clutching a large shard of glass. "You all right in there?" Chris asked. I nodded, cradling my arm. Lynn's focus shifted. She wasn't smiling. She was glaring at Chris like a hungry lion.
From Casadaga, Florida, Sarah details a vivid dream or alternate reality where the world shifted, and she became overwhelmed by the unfiltered emotions of everyone around her.
"I had a dream. It was so vivid, so real, that I'm still not convinced I didn't accidentally astral project into an alternate reality. In this dream, something incredible happened. The world changed overnight. No warning, no memo from the universe, just boom. A complete cosmic shift. It wasn't an apocalypse. It was something far more extraordinary. We remembered that we weren't separate. All the walls we'd built around ourselves disappeared. And suddenly, we could feel each other's emotions. All of them. Raw, unfiltered, and frankly overwhelming as hell. Imagine scrolling through everyone's emotional Facebook post at the same time. But instead of just watching it, you feel it. It started small. I woke up and thought, something feels different. I couldn't put my finger on it until I picked up my cup of tea and immediately burst into tears. Not because the tea was bad, but because my neighbor 3 doors down was having a full-blown existential crisis over her cat ignoring her. And somehow, I was feeling it. As I stepped outside, it was like someone cranked the emotional dial to 100, then tossed away the knob. I felt the triumph of a woman who parallel parked on the first try. I felt the existential despair of someone opening a bag of chips and realizing it was mostly air. I could feel the anger of a barista dealing with their third Karen of the day. trying to stay composed while the universe silently made them the punching bag for all human frustration. I felt the excitement of a child discovering their first rainbow. It was like being thrown into a pool of everyone's feelings, and it was deep. Really deep. At first, it was chaotic. People were stumbling out of their homes, clutching their chests like they'd just run a marathon, while simultaneously having an emotional breakdown. One guy in his pajamas was sitting on the curb, alternating between sobs and giggles. I can feel the joy of a toddler who just learned how to say, car, and the stress of a mom trying to get him to sleep, he shouted. That trash can? It's feeling betrayed because it hasn't been emptied in 2 days. It's working through it, though. But it wasn't all bad. Sure, it was overwhelming, but it was also strangely beautiful. You couldn't hide anymore. Everyone's walls came crashing down, and there was no room for pretending. It was raw, messy, and so real. Bullshit died that day. Completely. Forever. You couldn't fake anything anymore. If someone said, "I'm fine," while internally spiraling, you knew. If a politician gave a speech full of empty promises, their guilt practically slapped you in the face. CEOs couldn't hide behind team-building initiatives while exploiting workers because the emotional backlash hit them like a freight train. Even Instagram became unrecognizable. Gone were the blessed posts and fake smiles. If someone tried to post a beach selfie while secretly crying over their credit card debt, the truth radiated like neon. Influencers quit en masse because you couldn't sell protein powder while feeling dead inside. Then came the hugs. It started when someone decided to just hug it out. It spread faster than a fart in a crowded elevator. Strangers were hugging in grocery stores. People were hugging delivery drivers. My neighbor ran out and hugged her mailman so hard he dropped her Amazon package. It didn't matter. Everyone just needed to connect. Even anger became productive. Someone would yell, "I'm mad at you!" And the other person would reply, "I know, and I feel it, and I'm sorry." And suddenly they'd be sobbing in each other's arms. Road rage? Gone. You couldn't honk at someone without feeling their childhood trauma. And that changes things. Here's where things got really interesting. Greed couldn't survive. It wasn't just unethical anymore, it was physically unbearable. Imagine being a billionaire and suddenly feeling the despair of every underpaid worker who made your lifestyle possible. Wars stopped overnight. Pollution slowed, then stopped. You couldn't bomb a village or dump waste into a river because the emotional toll would knock you out cold. Entire industries collapsed, but no one cared because we realized that what we really wanted wasn't money. It was connection. With greed gone, humanity turned its attention to healing. People who had carried trauma for decades finally let it out because they knew they weren't alone. Therapy sessions turned into group hug marathons. Grief became a shared experience, not a lonely burden. And the earth? The earth thrived. We could feel the trees breathing, the oceans sighing, the mountains standing tall and steady above us. People planted trees, cleaned rivers, and stopped being assholes to the planet. Not because they had to, but because it felt right. When I woke up from the dream, tears were streaming down my face. Not from sadness, but from the overwhelming beauty of what I had seen. It wasn't just a dream, it was a glimpse of what we could be. And the most heart-wrenching part? It felt possible, tangible, like a forgotten truth buried deep. In this world, kindness was the rule. No one had to scream into the void for attention because everyone was already listening. Pain was held and shared, dissolving in collective compassion. Love was a force, woven into every interaction. Vulnerability was a bridge, making relationships deeper, richer, more honest. Conflict still existed, but it was different. You couldn't hate someone when you could feel their fear, sorrow, and hope. Arguments became opportunities for understanding. Leaders guided with empathy, feeling the weight of every decision, shaping policies not by profit but by love. Creativity flourished, every painting, song, and story carrying the weight of collective emotion. You didn't just watch a movie, you felt it, lived it, breathed it. Earth began to heal. We treated nature as an extension of ourselves. Pollution stopped because no one could bear to feel the Earth's pain anymore. We planted trees, cleaned rivers, restored the soil, because it felt like healing a part of ourselves. Loneliness vanished. We finally understood that we were never truly alone. Every emotion was shared, echoed, and understood. People who had felt invisible or unloved found themselves wrapped in a tapestry of connection. Imagine the relief of knowing without a shadow of a doubt that you mattered, that your joy, your pain, your existence rippled out and touched everyone around you. This world wasn't perfect, but it was alive. Fully, vibrantly alive. It was awake. Every moment mattered because every moment was shared. Every person mattered because every person was felt. When I woke up, I lay there for a long time, staring at the ceiling, wondering why this world couldn't be real. Maybe it could be. Maybe it wasn't just a dream, but a blueprint. A whisper from the universe telling us what we're capable of. What if we stopped pretending we were separate? What if we chose to feel, to connect, to love? Not someday, but now. I think about that world constantly. How much lighter our hearts would feel. How much kinder we'd be. The beauty we could create. The healing we could finally begin. And I wonder, what are we waiting for? I don't know what it was, but it was real and so much more tangible than everyday reality. I have this deep urge to tell everyone about it, to plant a seed of something that could become reality. Every revolutionary idea, every shift in consciousness started as a thought in someone's mind. When we imagine something vividly, we're not just picturing it. We're starting to breathe life into it. The more people join in that vision, the stronger and more tangible it becomes, like adding bricks to build a bridge between dream and